ADDICTS. Like, hey, Scoob, did you hear Nikki Blake is hosting a Scooby-Doo panel? No. Yeah. Like on today's Scooby-Doo episode, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy meet Nikki Blake. Yeah, in a Scooby Panel. Like, we need to get this puppy started. Okay, Nikki Blake, take it away, Scooby-Doo.
Welcome to the Scooby Panel and Happy New Year. I'm your host, Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com, and today we will be answering the questions that you guys sent in. So before we get started, let's have Wendy and Cameron introduce themselves. So Wendy, we'll start with you.
Hi guys, I'm Wendy BRYDGE. I'm a commissioned artist, a 30+ year Scooby-Doo collector, and Happy New Year. We're going to answer some of your questions that we are very surprised that any of you had, but thank you. Thank you for sending them in so that we could answer them for you.
And Cameron.
Hey everyone, I'm Cameron from Scooby-Doo Cameron Too. I'm super excited to be on this panel today. Happy New Year's to everybody. And yeah, like Wendy and Nikki both said, thank you guys for sending in questions. We love our Scooby community, and we just, like I said, we're very blessed and we're excited to do this.
Yeah, this should be a fun one. Totally different than what we usually do, but we figured for New Year's, it would be good to do something different. So, and I can't believe it is 2022 already. Like, it just doesn't seem possible.
Time flies real fast.
It really does. Yeah, it really does. And hopefully 2022 will be a better year than the past 2 years.
Fingers crossed.
So.
Yeah. So we'll start with our first question, and the first one is from Derek Davey, and he says, I was curious how you decided to take your love of Scooby-Doo to the next level and do the panel. How was it that you came up with your two talented co-hosts? Did you guys seem like you have tons of fun with it, being the three of you, and wasn't sure how you met? So the idea for the panel I had years ago. I just wanted to talk about Scooby-Doo, and people do not like to talk about Scooby-Doo when they're not into him. So trying to get family and friends to talk about Scooby is kind of like banging your head against a wall. They don't want to hear it, they get annoyed, they roll their eyes, and it's kind of annoying. So I wanted to find other Scooby fans to talk to, and I thought doing the panels would be amazing. We could have discussions about Scooby-Doo, and I wouldn't get eyes rolling or, you know, oh, come on, is this conversation done yet? It would be with people who can appreciate what I'm talking about. The biggest problem for me was I was afraid to actually do it because I'm shy. I don't really like to talk to new people, and I don't like to be the center of attention. So it took a lot for me to actually start doing the panels, and I'm super excited that I did. Like, this has been the best thing that seriously I could have ever done. I mean, it's so much fun talking about Scooby-Doo. I've met so many great people. Wendy, Cam, and I, we do have so much fun. We really do. Like, they're like my best friends, and I would not be saying that if it wasn't for the panels. So seriously, like, these panels have just been so amazing for me. And what about you guys?
You know, I'm truly blessed to be on these panels. And I give it to Nikki. She edits them. You know, she does all the work. And when she first invited me to be on the panel, I was super excited. I didn't hesitate. I said yes, of course. And now, and I'm not just saying this just to say this, because I'm a person that when I say something, I mean it. But I truly believe that Wendy and Nikki are two of my closest friends, and I know they're going to be my friends till the day I take my last breath. Or, you know what I mean? And I'm very blessed for them. It's kind of the same thing for me. Kind of growing up, I live out here in the middle of nowhere in Texas, and there wasn't really anybody close to me that was really like pumped up for Scooby-Doo as I was. And so when 2 years ago, or excuse me, not 3 years ago, we're in 2022, I finally decided to start Scooby-Doo Cameron Too. And then that's when, you know, I started picking up and really becoming part of the Scooby community. But yeah, these panels have been phenomenal. I mean, the guests we've been able to talk to, the people we've been able to meet, the conversations we've been able to have. I mean, it's truly incredible. It's for a Scooby-Doo fan, and just for as somebody who can admire the Scooby-Doo franchise.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to repeat some of that because I don't think I really ever got any like negativity back if I wanted to talk about Scooby, but it's just that nobody around me was into it. My friends didn't watch it, you know, family didn't watch it, so it was just something that I did on my own. And of course, when you grow up in a small town, it's very easy to think, well, I'm the only one that's into this thing, right? And honestly, I mean, I've followed Nikki on social media for, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I remember exactly how long, but I feel like I've followed Nikki's Twitter account for almost the full 10 years that I've been on social media. I'm almost positive that Nikki was within the very first year or two, and I found her because I went looking for a Scooby related account. You know, there's so many things online, people talk about everything. I was like, well, surely there's got to be something Scooby-Doo related. And ScoobyAddicts came up, and so I've followed Nikki all this time. And I'm not really sure exactly what sparked us talking this spring. I know that when I first met Cam, that was 100% because an account that I followed on Twitter was quote retweeting Cam's tweets. And at some point, I would see it and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool tweet. And I would put a like on it. And just at some point, I realized, I was like, well, wait a minute. If I'm putting a like on the quote retweet, that means that Cam's doing the work, but Cam's not getting my like. So I made a point to go to Cam's page and follow Cam directly. I was like, well, I'm going to bypass this middleman who, you know what I mean, is getting likes for Cam's work. And Cam runs this great page and all these fun pictures and everything. And I mean, you can't not see Cam's personality, even through like words and pictures on a screen. Like, I don't need to be looking at Cam's face or hear his voice to like get Cam's vibe. And I challenge anybody to follow Cam anywhere and not be like, I like this person and I want to be around them. And that's definitely how I felt about it. So it was just kind of natural that as I followed these two people for a while, you know, and I was like, wow, we actually have some things in common. You know, we love Scooby and they're both really nice. And we just connected like that. And it only took like one private message to like start talking about other things that we had in common. You know, the only thing more rare in my life than being a Scooby fan, and as far as like being online, was finding other people that love Jesus. So when Cam was like, hey, by the way, I love Jesus too, I was like, thank you, Lord, for sending me this person into my life. So like that, it meant a lot to me. It really did. Anybody that also loves Jesus, I'm sure can appreciate that as well. So when Nikki asked, she's like, oh, I'm gonna be doing these videos, and would you maybe be on one of these if I did it? I was like, heck yes. Like, you don't have to ask me twice. And I never imagined that I would end up being like a regular on the panels, but I'm so grateful because like obviously people can see it that in real life we are friends. Like, we're not just putting on a show. We genuinely get along. I wish that we all lived closer so that we could actually like get together and do things, because video is wonderful. That's such a great technology, but it would be really cool, like, to give you guys a hug and go for coffee and like go someplace where there's some guy dressed up like Scooby and we're like three adults like swarming him. You know what I mean? Like, we want pictures, hug her while we take this picture. You know what I mean? All these, jump into Cam's arms. Can you just do that? Shot? You know, because that's the kind of stuff I feel like we would be doing, and we would have so much fun doing it. But yeah, the panels have been like a wonderful wonderful thing, especially given the fact that the last year has been very challenging for everybody. And to have something to look forward to with people that you look forward to doing things with is amazing. So thanks to Nikki and thanks to Scooby, here we are. And I would venture to say that it's more fun the longer we do it than even when we started.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that way for you, but I definitely feel like I'm more excited to see you guys each time we do a panel or we do something together.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I totally agree with that too. So Derek wanted to know how I came up with you guys as the co-hosts. And basically, I didn't really at the start of it think, oh, Wendy and Cam are going to be on every episode. But when we did the first episode, it was a little bit awkward. I mean, it was the one episode that at the end, I was just like, okay, bye, and just ended the whole Zoom call. And we did not chat afterwards at all. And
yeah.
But after we did the first one, I asked you guys to do the second one. And I just felt really comfortable with both of you. And that's not easy for me to say about people, just because I'm more of an introvert. So it's hard for me to really like put myself out there, for me to, talk to people and get to know people. But I really felt like, one, you guys brought a lot to the panels in the beginning that, I really valued everything that you guys had to say. And I felt like having you on the panels would just be so much fun for me, because I really enjoyed just spending time with you guys, talking to you guys. And again, you guys know a lot about Scooby. So, where I kind of don't remember certain things, you guys, I feel like both of you just have photographic memories and can remember everything that has ever happened in Scooby-Doo, which is awesome. It's great. So it's more, I wanted you guys to continue doing the panels because I felt comfortable with you. I knew that if we were going to do interviews, which we've done some interviews, and hopefully we'll continue to do them, but if we were going to do interviews, I felt like you guys would be the best people to be on those Zoom calls with those people, because you could really just feel so overwhelmed with being with these people, but at the same time keep your cool,
Yeah.
And I knew that you guys would appreciate being able to be on the calls with the people that have worked on Scooby-Doo. Whereas just somebody else, that maybe has been a fan of Scooby for a while, they're not really going to appreciate that like you guys would. The interviews we've done, I mean, the parts that people don't see are the parts in the beginning where we're just like, oh, it's an honor to be talking to you, and we get that out to them, and we let them know just how much it means to us that they're doing this, that they're giving us their time. And you guys, I knew, would not take that for granted. So that I just think you guys are amazing. And that's why you're on the panels, I want you guys to keep doing them because you're so amazing.
Thank you.
Right,
as long as you want us, we're going to be here.
That's great. That's great because, I mean, we get along really well, and people have commented that the three of us together are really great. And, they love seeing the three of us together. So it's awesome. And, that means a lot to me too, that people are seeing that. They're seeing that, we have good chemistry because we are friends and we do get along. And I mean, we're supporting each other. And to me, that's important, that we're all supporting each other. There are some accounts out there that are jealous of other accounts.
Mhm.
But, you know, we support each other. We share each
Mhm.
other's stuff. We like each other's stuff, you know, whatever. We are supportive, and that's important.
Definitely.
Jordan Smith also asked how we met. And if we didn't really cover exactly how we met, we all met online. Wendy and I first started following each other on Twitter, and we really didn't talk very much at the
No.
beginning. Couple conversations here and there, but it was more, oh, do you know where I can find this, or did you know about this? But we really didn't start talking a lot until probably when we started discussing doing the panels.
Yeah.
And then Cameron, I believe we first started following each other on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. It's when I first joined Scooby-Doo and Cameron Too. But I think we talked a little bit before I think I joined. I don't know. I'm not too sure, but I knew you and me got to know each other a whole lot better when we started working with Scott on his page and when he did his live. So
yeah. So Cameron and I talked a little bit more before the panels than Wendy and I did, but yeah, the panels have been awesome. They brought us together. Scooby brought us together, and I just think it's amazing. Scooby-Doo of Roblox asked, what is our favorite panel that we've done? So Wendy, how about you?
So my favorite panel has not aired yet. I think it's going to come out after this one, but it was with a special guest. But of the ones that have gone up already, for sure, my favorite panel was Scooby-Doo's 52nd birthday. Because, and I've already kind of touched on this, but it is really great to do the panels and meet so many different people that share a very deep-seated love for something like you do. You know, everyone that's been on the panel is not just like a casual Scooby viewer. You know, I feel like everyone that you've had on loves, like genuinely loves Scooby. Maybe their collection is not like as out of control as ours is, but they're not just indifferent to him. Like, they love him. He is a character that is like near and dear to their hearts. And so I always love meeting new people like that, because that's how I feel too. But at the end of the day, I really do value when we can do like a 3-person panel where it's us, because we're real friends. And what could be better than your genuine friends and you sitting down and like gushing about the thing that you love so much. I really enjoy doing like a deep dive on most of the panels where we're really like dissecting Scooby, because like it is nice to be able to think a little bit beyond what's just superficial. Of course, like that is always, I really enjoy doing that. But sometimes you just want to be like, you know what? I love this dog. I just do. I loved him when I was 5. I'm 35. I still love him. When I'm 95, I'm going to love him. And your friends are like, me too. That's how I feel. So I feel like that panel was kind of the best of both worlds, because we started out with a bunch of people on the panel and we all sang happy birthday to Scooby. And then it was just the 3 of us basically just loving on Scooby-Doo for a while. And so that was my favorite panel, other than one that you'll see later on.
Cameron, how about you? What was your favorite panel?
You know, it's really hard to say, because I've loved all of them that we've done so far, and we really have, whether it's been the 3 of us or whether we've had guests on, or whether we've been doing interviews with some amazing people that have had their hands dipped in the Scooby-Doo franchise. I really enjoyed the collection one where we talked as collectors and we talked about our favorite pieces and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like us as 3, I mean, we are good friends through the Scooby panels, but we're also 3 very big Scooby-Doo collectors. And for those of y'all listening through the podcast form, if y'all ever get a chance, just go and look at our pages. We're always posting up, you know, things of our Scooby-Doo collection. And I just felt like during that thing, you know, it was really cool to speak to Danny too, you know, because she holds the world's largest collection record. And I think it was really cool for us to give spotlight to Danny. You know what I mean? Because I felt like, you know, some things, there's some people in the Scooby community that work so hard and they give their best, And I feel like sometimes they're just swept under the rug. And I don't mean that mean, but it's kind of the truth. So I kind of feel like with our panels, we get to highlight people and give credit where credit's due. So during that one, I think it was pretty cool as collectors to talk and also to highlight Danny. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I have to agree that the one coming up after this one is probably my favorite so far that we've recorded. I really enjoyed the specials that we did because yes, it is just the three of us talking, and you know, we're able to say how we really feel, which is what I love. Is with the panels, I want people to come on and say how they really feel. I don't want you to sugarcoat it because you're afraid of who's going to be watching. Just, you know, be honest, give your honest opinion. And I feel like we do that, especially the three of us. We have no problem, you know, giving our opinion to the fullest. The 52nd anniversary one was probably one of my favorites because it was just so funny when we were trying to do the song and Zoom was lagging. So it just was horrible how it sounded. But we figured out on the spot, we figured out how we were going to make it work, and we made it work, and everybody was able to sing happy birthday, and it was good. But it was so nice to have everybody just on Zoom together, you know, a bunch of Scooby fans, and we just all had a blast. I think it was a great time. I am always pretty much on cloud nine after we record these panels, so it's hard for me to say, you know, I like some more than others because they all just make me so happy to do.
Yeah.
Our next question is from Francis Bender, and they want to know, how did you become a Scooby fan? So Cameron?
When I was little, when I was born, my mom put some Scooby stuff with me, and you know, there was like that little beanie baby that has it's the little Scooby-Doo beanie baby, and it has like a little blue towel that says it's a boy. Put that with me when I was a baby. And when I was little, I love telling the story because everybody's asked me, what's your story of how you got into Scooby-Doo? And so when I was little, and I never forget the story. And I actually have this piece, and it's not really a Scooby-Doo piece, but it is to me. But when I was little, my mom would always put me in front of the TV when she was getting my sister ready for school, and I would watch ABC, and Scooby-Doo would come on. And I'm talking the original, the classics. Where Are You? The Scooby-Doo show, the new Scooby-Doo mysteries. I mean, it was 70s galore Scooby-Doo on TV. So I would watch it, and then I would throw a fit, like an absolute fit, when mom would move me from the TV to take Mackenzie, my sister, to school. I mean, I would throw a temper tantrum. So finally she went, and y'all, granted, this was back in the early 2000s, like 90s, 2000s. So we haven't had iPads yet, but she went and got one of those box TVs where you have to pop the antenna and you have to kind of channel it into the right channel. And so I have that little box TV still to this day. And I remember just sitting there and watching Scooby-Doo, and we would be going somewhere, we'd be doing something, and I was 5 years old, and someone would say, "Oh yeah, Scooby-Doo," and I was like, it started on September 13th, 1969. I mean, I was just just spitting out these random facts, and they're like, "What the heck?" And so every birthday, it was a Scooby-Doo themed birthday. Every Halloween, I dressed as Scooby-Doo. I just became infatuated with this cartoon dog. I loved him, you know, and I started collecting, and I started, you know, seeing people, you know, I mean, I remember growing up, they had a gun collection, or they had a knife collection, or they had an old, you know, camera collections, you know, and I thought to myself, why can't I collect Scooby-Doo? So I started collecting Scooby-Doo here, there, thrift shops, Walmart, Target, wherever I went. I always got a little Scooby-Doo piece, whether it was a birthday, Christmas. And so I always kept it. I always kept it in good shape. I always took care of my stuff. And when I was little, I knew that one day I wanted to become a Scooby-Doo collector, or yes, excuse me, the world's largest Scooby-Doo collector. And I haven't yet. I'm going to do it in the future. I mean, I still have a lot of my ducks to get in a row, or my Scrappies to get in a row. But yeah, that's how I got started. My mom set me right in front of Scooby-Doo. She put that little beanie baby with me as a baby, and God, I love that dog. And that's how I got started.
Nice. Wendy, what about you?
I wasn't really sure how to answer this other than the only thing I can think of, which is even before I have memory of Scooby-Doo, I just loved mysteries and Great Danes. That sounds so random, but I mean, I just, apart from Scooby, I love Great Danes. Marmaduke, I still read a daily Marmaduke comic, and I have for many, 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 many years. And I love Marmaduke too. And any kind of mystery. I definitely was a kid that wanted to watch Sherlock Holmes movies or anything, just anything where there was a mystery. I loved it. I loved books where you had to like think of how it was going to end. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly where I would have necessarily come in contact with Great Danes other than Marmaduke and Scooby, because I know that I started with Scooby when I was maybe 5 or 6. But I know that I definitely, if I saw a picture of a Great Dane, like anything, some random Great Dane walked down the street and I was like instantly obsessed with it. So I feel like Scooby was just the two things that I really, really already enjoyed put together. So he was like the perfect thing for me.
Yeah, I can't totally remember like how I became exposed to Scooby-Doo. I remember watching Where Are You and the Scooby-Doo show on Saturday mornings, but I cannot remember the first episode that I watched. I applaud any of you that can. I think that's amazing that you can, but I can't. I just remember watching it on Saturday mornings, and when the Warner Brothers stores existed, my parents would go to Atlantic City and they would always bring me something back Scooby-Doo, always. So that, you know, they kind of fed into my addiction, and things just went uphill from there, I will say. Now I have a room full of Scooby stuff and overflow rooms, and yeah. Our next question is from Prismatic Goth Boy, and they actually had 3 questions. The first one is, what is your earliest memory of Scooby-Doo? And like I said, I can't really answer my earliest memory because I don't know. Cameron, do you know the first episode that you watched by any chance?
It was a Scooby-Doo show. And a lot of people are like, oh, not Scooby-Doo, where are you? No, I love Scooby-Doo, where are you? I mean, trust me, I do. But I love the Scooby-Doo show because that was the very first series I really got hooked on. And back then, they had Where Are You episodes on VHS tapes. Again, y'all, this is early 90s, early 2000s. So, you know, DVDs were starting to become popular. But we had VHS tapes. And a lot of the Where Are You shows were on VHS tapes. But y'all, back then there really wasn't a lot of the Scooby-Doo show on VHS tapes, and it was hard to watch because they didn't really air them as much. You know what I mean? It's kind of like they kind of went away with them, but then they brought them back on DVDs and stuff like that. But yes, so I would say the Scooby-Doo show. I think my very first episode I watched, I think it was the Headless Horseman of Halloween, because I remember Scooby-Dum and I just fell in love with it. I think that was my first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And Wendy, you said you don't remember your first episode.
I don't remember the first episode, but I feel like the first memory that I have of specifically Scooby-Doo is Scrappy flying out of that box that comes off the train at the beginning of the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy show. I feel like that is the image that is like burned into my brain. And when I think back to when I was a kid, that is the moment that I think of, Scrappy coming out of that box and thinking that he was just so cute. And because I do feel like when I was very, very young that Scooby-Doo and Scrappy was what was playing the most where I was watching it. I really like Cam, Where Are You is not, it's not my first and it's not my favorite either, but the Scooby-Doo show was more of what I really, really liked and what I was exposed to. And so in conjunction with the Scrappy moment, the other thing that always, always stuck in my mind was The Witch of Salem from To Switch a Witch, which is my favorite episode of all time, and the Technicolor Phantoms from The Ghost of the Bad Humor Man. And I remember they made such an impression on me, and yet I know that I only saw them maybe one time growing up, each of those episodes. And I can actually remember maybe like 1997, 1998, when internet was starting to make its way into your home up where I lived in the north. Still not common, but we did have it for a while. And I can remember scouring the internet looking for some reference for those two episodes, because I was sure that I had seen them as like a really young kid, but I couldn't remember what they were called or anything. And nobody, like, you ask people and like they don't even watch Scooby, so they can't help you with episode identification. And I remember emailing some random website and describing those two episodes and saying, like, do you recognize these or anything? And sure enough, the person did answer me and correctly ID'd them. And then years later, I was able to like find it on my own. Like, now there's so much on the internet that it's hard to believe that there was a time where you could not find a picture of the Witch of Salem on the internet. But
Yeah.
trust me, that was a reality. That actually happened, where there wasn't, those references didn't exist yet. Nobody had put them there. So those two episodes, specifically the villains though, the witch with the lime green hair, and those amazing like ice cream oh my gosh, that's awful. Neapolitan, is that the right word for the three
Yeah,
color?
you're right.
Neapolitan.
Neapolitan.
Yeah.
You got it.
That was embarrassing. But yeah, that's always how I thought of them. So yeah, those phantoms really stuck out, and the witch, and of course Scrappy in his box coming off the train.
The next question is, has watching Scooby-Doo ever been used as a coping mechanism? For me, yes. There's a lot of stuff that I've gone through that by watching Scooby-Doo, it's kind of made me feel safe, made me feel like, I could handle whatever I was going through. It's made things a lot easier for me. I think without Scooby-Doo, my life would be a lot different. So yeah, I've definitely used Scooby-Doo to cope with things. That's for sure. Wendy, how about you?
Yeah, it's not something that I think I was doing consciously, but I think that there is, I think we should recognize that a lot of times we do use things to cope, whether we're consciously doing it or not. Sometimes it's still happening. So if I think of times in my life that have been particularly hard, or even just sometimes when you're having like a really, really bad day, the kind of day where you'd kind of just like to go sit in the corner in the dark by yourself. And those are the times where when I look back or I think about them, I'm like, well, what is it that I gravitated towards? And it was things like Scooby-Doo, because Scooby is a safe place. Scooby is something that I know if I turn that on, I'm not going to see anything that's going to upset me. I'm not going to see anything that's going to make me angry. Nothing's going to offend me. There's no moral ambiguity. The good guy's the good guy, the bad guy's the bad guy, and the bad guy's going to lose and the good guy's going to win. End of story. And so that is the kind of stuff that you usually want when you're having a rough time. You want stability. You want, all the Scooby mysteries. Maybe the mystery is different, but it's a formula. That you're going to get a solution at the end of the episode. No matter which episode it is, you will get that resolution that you want. So sometimes in life, you're not getting any resolution, and that's what's creating anxiety or depression or whatever. And so if you have something like Scooby, you know that you're going to get that thing that you're craving in your real life. And it's nice to have something like Scooby-Doo that you can turn to and get what you need. And maybe it's not going to solve your actual problems, but for 20 minutes, you don't have to think about your problems. So absolutely a coping mechanism, albeit one that is often subconscious rather than conscious, I think.
Although for me, there are days that I just walk into my Scooby room and just sit in this chair and just look at everything because I've had such a horrible day or gone through something. And it just makes me feel so much better.
Yeah, agree.
Cameron, how about you? Have you used Scooby as a coping mechanism?
Yes, I have. You know, growing up, I wasn't always the popular kid, and you know, there were some things I went through here and there. But you know, was never afraid to tell people how much I love Scooby-Doo. And of course, you know, did I get teased for it, made fun of it? Yeah, but it never stopped me from loving Scooby-Doo. I mean, I remember when I was in middle school, about to go into high school, you know, everybody's reading these like, you know, these adult books and stuff. And they're like, Cameron, what's your next book report on? I'm like, well, it's Scooby-Doo and you know, and the haunted rodeo. They're like, oh my God. But I always gravitate towards Scooby-Doo, kind of like I've always gravitated towards Jesus when I'm feeling down or when I'm feeling lonely. And you know, Jesus Christ, Reba McEntire, the country music singer, and Scooby-Doo, those three things have always stayed constant in my life. And because here's the thing, those three things are pure. Those three things they have never had any dirty, awful, nasty, you know, things about them. They've always just been, you know, pure, clean, and constant. And now you know, I'm a Scooby-Doo collector. I get to be on these panels. I work for Reba McEntire, and I get to have a wonderful relationship with Jesus. And it's because I've taken the effort to put time into those three things. Scooby-Doo is really important to me because, you know, he's been around since I was a little kid. You know, when I'm having a bad day, I like Wendy was saying, and like you said, Nikki, I turn on Scooby-Doo and it's like all my fears, everything goes away. And I've heard some people in the past say, you know, we need to change some things in Scooby-Doo, or some things are getting old. And, you know, I'm thinking to myself, no, they're really not. It's not getting old. If it got old, it wouldn't have lasted for 52 years. I think y'all can agree with me on that. And so when I'm having a bad day, of course, you know, when I step up into my collection room, you know, I'll glance over it and I'll just, you know, I think to myself, hey, you're collecting, you know, this is fun. You're doing something, you know, and I'll feel better about that. Or I'll go watch one of my, you know, Scooby-Doo episodes. And I know this sounds real silly, but like when I lay in bed at night, I'll get, you know, covers over me and I'll get all situated and I'll turn on a Scooby-Doo episode, whether it's a pup named Scooby-Doo, Be Cool Scooby-Doo, you know, What's New Scooby-Doo, the Scooby-Doo show. And it helps me relax and mellow. And I don't know what it is about it. It's like everything comes right back to me. And yeah. And so, you know, and also too, it's something that where when I was growing up, you know, my mom would always, you know, she would always go somewhere with me and always, you know, get something Scooby-Doo with me or something like that. Or, you know, my grandma would always go, you know, grab me something Scooby-Doo wise. And those are memories I'm going to hold on to, that when one day, you know, I can look back and, you know, look on those memories and stuff, because some people may laugh and say, oh, he's just a cartoon dog and you need to grow up. Well, keep on making fun of me if you want to. I really don't care. I'm just that type of person. I don't care. And like I said, he brings me happiness. He makes me in the one thing I love that you said, Nikki, is it's a safe place. And it is a safe place. You know, it's a safe place to be in the Scooby community. It's a safe place to watch Scooby-Doo. And, you know, I've said this before and I sound like a broken record, but through the panels we've done so far, we've talked about how Scooby-Doo has been pure and clean. And that's one thing I respect the most. And I hope and pray in the future they don't stop. They don't do that, because I won't be supporting it, because I'm not that type of person to support something that is just evil. And Scooby-Doo's not evil. So.
Yeah. The last question from Prismatic Goth Boy is, did you ever have a phase where you just weren't into Scooby-Doo anymore? Wendy?
Short and sweet. No, never.
Cameron?
No.
I would say there's not a time that I wasn't into Scooby-Doo, but there was definitely a time that I was not collecting a lot of merchandise. You know, when my kids were little, of course, like all of their things came first. There wasn't really a whole lot of extra money to just be buying all this Scooby stuff. So there was a point where I wasn't collecting, but there was never a point that I didn't like Scooby-Doo. And, you know, my kids watch Scooby-Doo with me. I have a big stuffed Scooby that my youngest son would sit on the couch and he would hug him and we would just sit there and watch Scooby-Doo. So yeah. So Scooby has pretty much always been a part of my life since when I first saw him. And, you know, for me, like a talking dog, there's nothing better than that. You know, I love dogs and a talking dog is just great. I've always wished my dogs could talk. Of course, now not so much, but our next question is from Sean Kidwell. And he says, besides Scooby-Doo, what other shows, movies, comics, music, etc. are you into? Cameron, we'll start with you on that.
Well, y'all know I love country. I'm a country boy. So Reba McEntire, I love her very much. For those of you who don't know, if you're watching or listening, she's a country music artist. Go give her a listen to. I love her very much. She does a lot of Christian music and a lot of country music. As far as like getting into other things, I'm probably the worst because as growing up, Scooby-Doo's always kept constant. Of course, he's never gone away. But I've also gotten into other things. I've gotten into Transformers and Ben 10 and, you know, and Marvel and DC Comics. And I was always a person like that, you know, it got really bad when I was going through like 10 and 11, like mom's like, what are you into now? And I'm like, still at Scooby-Doo, but I'm kind of on Transformers right now. She's like, okay. The next week I'm like, kind of at Transformers, but I'm still in Scooby-Doo. And she's like, oh, okay. I think you're always going to be in Scooby-Doo. And I'm like, you're right. I think I am. but I mean, I'm kind of like y'all. I got a love for everything. But, you know, I will say things that I have really loved has been like Hanna-Barbera. And I know I love Scooby-Doo, but I'm talking like Speed Buggy and the Jetsons and Johnny Quest. And I mean, my God, y'all, I grew up with Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And I still to this day, and I'm still really like finding other series within Hanna-Barbera. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't watched this series from Hanna-Barbera, and I watch it and I'm like, I can't get over the minds, the people that really like, I'm telling you right now, people ask me all the time, if you had one place you could visit in time, where would you go? I want to go back to the Hanna-Barbera studios. Well, I don't care if I had to step in and security would drag me out. At least I could have like looked at the walls and be like, oh my God. You know, and so that's, I think that's me. I've kind of jumped around from, you know, different things all my life, but Scooby's always stayed constant. So.
Wendy, how about you? What other things other than Scooby are you into?
So my favorite band is Motley Crue, which most people are usually surprised to learn, but that is the truth. However, my favorite singer is Rod Stewart, which is the one and only concert that I have ever been to. And that was 100% a genuine bucket list item for my best friend and I. And we finally got to go and see him live in 2018. Man, honestly, with what's been going on the last 2 years, I feel like they didn't even happen sometimes. And I'm completely out of touch with like what year it even is or when I did stuff, because it sometimes just feels like they're not even there. My favorite music genre, though, is I love doo-wop, that great 50s stuff, 70s pop, very, 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 very into that. Very close second to Rod Stewart is Sean Cassidy, which is like, to me, like the height of 70s pop. And of course, any kind of 80s hair metal is definitely, I mean, for New Year's. Just 80s hair. Why not? Why not, guys? Why not? I did this for prom when I was 17. I'm doing it now. My favorite genre of film is fantasy, although I am very much a fan of anything Hammer films, Amicus films, all of that great British horror from the late 50s through the 70s. Anything with Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing is my favorite actor of all time. And Vincent Price, of course, even beyond his role as Vincent Van Ghoul in The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. I will watch anything that Vincent Price is in. I love all of Vincent Price's movies. My favorite TV series of all time is Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. I have rewatched that series probably 4 times in my life. I love that one. Any kind of like ancient history type series is something that I'm very much into. Never really been into like the futuristic stuff, although I was very into Star Trek The Next Generation when I was a kid. Wasn't super crazy about the original series, but definitely a next genner for when I was like between like 6 and 13, about then. I definitely loved that. My favorite film is 1959 House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price, of course. And a very close second, though, is MGM's version of A Christmas Carol from 1938. Hands down, 100%, the best iteration of A Christmas Carol. Anyone who thinks that Alistair Sims is the best Scrooge has clearly never seen Reginald Owen play him in 1938, because 10 billion% better, in my opinion. I absolutely love it. I do have a bit of a comic book collection, specifically Archie comics. I definitely have a soft spot for Christmas Archies. I love, love, love Christmas Archies. If you show me, like, just even saying the words Christmas Archies is like giving me goosebumps. That's how much I'm into that. And any kind of mystery. Like I said, I grew up reading Nancy Drew, Miss Marple, Jessica Fletcher in Murder, She Wrote, Hardy Boys mysteries. Like any of that stuff is like, I can't get enough of it. I'm always up for some kind of a mystery. And anything vampire related. I am that girl. That anything with vampires. Christopher Lee's my favorite Dracula, but I do love all of the original Universal monsters. Obviously, Bela Lugosi is a legend. And guys, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That was a thing when I was like 9 or 10 years old, and it's now a thing again that I'm rewatching it. Like this, honestly, guys, when I saw this shirt at the store like a few months ago, and it was on a mannequin when I walked in, and usually I'm not even looking at the clothing because I'm like get my groceries and get out. I'm not looking to buy clothes. I'm not going anywhere. I don't need any new clothes. But I'm telling you, I saw this top and I was like, that is a Buffy Summers top if ever I have seen one in the flesh. And I don't care how much it is coming home with me. And I even had to find someone to take the shirt off of the mannequin because it was the only one in my size that they had. And I was like, give it to me. There's my Buffy moment. So I've got my Buffy hair and my Buffy shirt, and I'm here for it, guys. I'm living my dream.
You look great.
Thank you,
That's
Cam.
awesome. So for me, my favorite band is Dave Matthews Band. I've seen them in concert over 40 times.
Oh, wow.
I love them live so much. They're so good live. Mm-hmm. But musically, I usually listen to more like hard rock, metal. I do like 80s hair bands. I had the biggest crush on Sebastian Bach from Skid Row. Yes. Had posters of him all over my room. Was like, someday I'm gonna marry him. And I met him. I met him at a Kiss concert. He was so drunk. He was like, there were guys with their girlfriends, and he was like feeling up their girlfriends, and the guys were like, this is great. This is great. I'm like, what kind of people are you? So after that, I went home and I took down every poster that I had of him on my walls and I threw them away. And that was the end of, that was pretty much where, like, I just realized that celebrities are just normal people, that there's really nothing special about them, that what they do is their job. And, you know, they're entertaining us, but their character is not them. They're playing a character. You really have no idea what these people are like. So he ruined celebrities for me. And I've always kind of felt like they're just normal people. I mean, of course, when we interview people, I get nervous. But I mean, I get nervous when, you know, other people other than us are on too. So, but yeah, he ruined that for me. As far as other TV shows, my husband and I watch NCIS Los Angeles. We're on the 8th season of Psych now. So I'm kind of sad that that's almost over. If you haven't watched Psych, go watch Psych. It's a great series. With podcasts, I typically listen to true crime podcasts. There's just something about true crime, you know. There's one that I listen to called The Vanish podcast, and it's about people who are missing, and she does updates every once in a while when they find the person or find their remains or whatever. And literally just listening to these stories, you know, I just feel so good that she's putting this out there so that people can hear these people's stories. You know, the victims their stories need to be told. And I think for me, the true crime podcast and hearing the victims' stories and their side and getting to understand what happened, I think that to me is really what makes me like them so much. You know, I don't really care about the person. Unfortunately, a lot of them do focus on the person that did the act. So, you know, they're getting their fame and their name out there. But, you know, to hear about the victims and the victim's story and for the families to get closure. You know, a lot of times I'm listening to these podcasts and I'm driving home from work and I'm like bawling my eyes out. And but yeah. Our next questions are from Scooby-Doo of Roblox. And he says, what was your first piece of Scooby merchandise that you owned? I cannot remember what the first piece of merchandise was that I owned. So Wendy, how about you?
Okay, it's either, which way do I need to go? It's either this big 1980 Mighty Star Scooby or this hardcover book from 1990. It's one or the other. I have no recollection of anything prior to these, and I have not seen anything in my collection that sparked a memory of oh, that came before that. So I'm pretty sure it's either the book or it's my giant plush.
Cameron, how about you?
Do y'all remember that promo for the Scooby toy from when you pop in the VHS for Cyber Chase, and it was those kids and they were playing with the Scooby-Doo, and there's a burger and pizza and you would feed Scooby-Doo. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember that.
Okay, well, there's a plush Scooby-Doo and he's got this bib on. It's kind of like this where he's about to eat, and you get a plush. It was kind of like interactive thing, and I mean, I can't tell y'all. I mean, I was like, when I wrote my list to Santa, like I wrote that thing over 3 times. Mom was like, "Oh my God, I think you really want that." And I was like, "If Santa don't bring that," I was like, "I swear." But no, it's like I said, it was a Scooby-Doo. You know what? I may have it, but anyways, I can grab it later. But it's this plush Scooby-Doo. He's got this bib on, and then you got this plush burger, and this plush pizza. And then when you put it up close to his mouth, he'll say, "That's a good burger," or something. And it played as a commercial back in the day, and it also played as a commercial right before Cyber Chase, the VHS movie. And I think that was one of my very first. I mean, I had some other Scooby stuff, but that was my first piece. I loved that piece more than any other pieces I had, but that was my very first. That's what got me really pumped up to start collecting. So
And his next question is, what would you do for a Scooby snack? Cameron.
Kill someone. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. No, I wouldn't do that. No, I don't know. I don't know. I guess like Scooby and Shaggy, I guess I'd do anything for a Scooby snack. So
Wendy, how about you?
Absolutely nothing. I would need at least 3 of them to be convinced to do anything.
there you go.
Never settle for one. Never. Not in your life.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like I hate spiders. And the one day this huge spider came in when I let the dogs out. And I yelled for my son, and he comes downstairs, and I'm spraying the spider. And usually this works. If you spray it with peppermint spray, it will die. Well, apparently that only works on the small spiders and not the really big ones. Because he was not dying, nor was he leaving. So my son comes down, and he got, I think, the broom or something, or fly swatter. It must have been the fly swatter. And he was trying to coax the spider outside. Well, he got it to where he shut the door, and he thought he squished it in the door. Well, I didn't want to go near the door. So now the dogs want to come in, and I'm like, sorry, you guys are living out in the backyard for now. So my son comes with this fly swatter, and he realizes the spider is still alive. So he pushes it outside, and he runs outside. Like he jumps over the spider to get outside, and he mangles this spider with this fly swatter. Okay, like it's in so many different pieces.
Yeah.
Just on the back porch. So I probably would not even like do anything with a spider for Scooby snacks. So I think I'm probably pretty limited on what I would do, but it would definitely take more than one. Definitely. Yeah. Another question from Prismatic Goth Boy is, which Scooby-Doo show is your favorite? I'm gonna say Scooby-Doo Where Are You is my favorite. I love the original, and you know, everything's pretty much based on the original. So yeah, I'm going with Scooby-Doo Where Are You. Wendy, how about you?
The Scooby-Doo show is my favorite.
Cameron?
Kind of like Wendy, my Scooby-Doo show is my favorite too. Nothing against Scooby-Doo Where Are You? It's a wonderful series, but I feel like they got their, testing the waters, they got started, and then like they went full-fledged into the Scooby-Doo show. And I thought everything about it was great. So yeah, the Scooby-Doo show is my absolute favorite.
And Scooby-Doo of Roblox asked, what is your favorite Scooby art style? Wendy?
This one was like a little bit harder because I know that we have already done a panel about art styles and stuff, but I like different ones for different reasons. But I guess if I really was pushed to choose, I want to say the Scooby-Doo show, but I kind of think I'm going to go with Scooby-Doo and Scrappy. I don't know it because I feel like they're very similar, very, very similar, but it's just there's something it's got, like the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy show has like just a little bit of an extra twist, especially for season 1, where I feel like it almost captures, there's not a lot of it, but I feel like it almost captures just a little bit of the essence of Where Are You and mixes it with the Scooby-Doo show, and then you get Scooby-Doo and Scrappy. So it's very, it has that kind of scary edge, the episodes in that first season of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy, the way that Where Are You did, but it's got the bright colors and the more technicolor feel of the Scooby-Doo show that I feel like Where Are You they didn't go that far. It's like a more muted color palette in my opinion. And so I feel like Scooby-Doo and Scrappy kind of was the perfect blend of the two original styles. And that to me is like peak Scooby style for me anyway.
Cameron, how about you? Your favorite Scooby art style?
I'm gonna go with a pup named Scooby-Doo. And the reason I say that is because it was so very 80s, you know. And I know that you two, y'all are like 80s were a great year. I wasn't even thought of in the 80s. Like I was like, we may have a third child. But yeah, like, to me, I don't know. I really liked I loved the art style to how it was. I loved just how like it was just 80s. It was so much color. It was yet they could make the episode dark or really light. I really love how they kind of focused on Coolsville and the gang kind of growing up there. I loved everything they did about it. It was a complete 360 from what they were originally doing with Scooby-Doo. And if they ever do in the future, like it's not the best quality pictures, you know, like, you know what I mean? For a pup named Scooby-Doo, everything kind of looks a little blurry. Like you'll see, like when I post pictures of a pup named Scooby-Doo, it's kind of a little blurry. And I swear, if they ever like decide to like do like an HD, like redo all the pup named Scooby-Doo episodes, I would pay a fortune just to own them all, because like I don't know, something about it is just, it's so much fun. I just, that's one of my top series, is a pup named Scooby-Doo. It's just a lot of color, and yet I feel like they just, you know, and back then they did a lot. Like they did the Flintstone Kids, they did like the pup named Scooby. They went through like this kid era with and Yo-Yo Yogi and all those. I mean, they did this like kid theme to Hanna-Barbera. So I just felt like for them doing a pup named Scooby-Doo, it was cute, and it just, I don't know, it's like really funky, and I really liked it.
I would still go with Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The Scooby-Doo Show. I felt like their art styles were pretty much the same. And yeah, even though like Cameron said, that time frame, it wasn't HD, so everything looks kind of blurry. But yeah, if they would ever remaster those, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
Have y'all, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to change subject, but have y'all watched the Blu-ray series for Where Are You yet? I mean, I have it in my collection, but have any of y'all really like popped it in and watched them?
You know, somebody asked me if there was a big difference between the DVD version and the Blu-ray, and I did put in a disc just to look to see if there was a difference, and there is a big difference. The Blu-ray
Really?
definitely looks a lot cleaner.
Really? Okay, because
Yeah.
I don't have a Blu-ray machine. I need to get one, but I was wondering about that. I was like, why have I not popped one of those open and watched them yet? But okay, I guess I need to.
Yeah. Our next questions are from Robert Wallace, and he says, do you have a favorite Scooby-Doo movie? Cameron.
Mine is Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. That's one of my favorites. I remember growing up with it. And then coming up close second would be Scooby-Doo Legend of the Vampire. So those are my two top movies.
Wendy?
I like Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers the best.
I always want to say Witch's Ghost, but I really think that Scooby Goes Hollywood is my favorite. And I know, Wendy, you weren't like thrilled with that in our last panel, but it's fun. It's just such a fun movie. You know, it's kind of different, but it's fun. And the gang all comes back together, and yeah, I'm going with Scooby Goes Hollywood. Who's your favorite voice actor of Scooby? Wendy?
Oh, Don Messick. There's not even a question here.
Cameron?
Well, I do appreciate Don Messick and Frank Welker. They've done an amazing job. I really do like Scott's Scooby, just because that's, you know, like I said, Cyber Chase is my favorite. That's kind of the Scooby I grew up with. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I grew up with Don Messick's, but like, I mean, when I actually like understood voice artists and like really like started like researching them, like I really like, I guess that's when I started researching Scott. So I would have to go with Scott's being my favorite.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Don Messick too. I really liked what he brought to the character. I think Scott would be my second choice, because I feel like he's closer to the way that Don Messick does Scooby-Doo.
Right.
Not that Frank Welker is bad, but Frank doesn't say the R's at the beginning of the words like Don Messick and Scott Innes did. And that I kind of have a hard time with, that he doesn't say that. Like Scooby speaks better English now. What do you think of Neil Fanning's rendition of Scooby for the first 2 live action movies? Wendy.
I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about it. I didn't really like it. Just, it wasn't, I don't know. I do like Scott as Scooby, but I'll be honest, I just feel like nobody sounds like Don. And because like Cam makes a good point. What you grow up with is oftentimes like, that is what is in your mind, is like, well, that's mine, you know? So I can completely understand Cam not saying Don Messick is his absolute favorite, because that's not, you know, what you were growing up with and what your favorite movie is, has Scott doing it. I feel like Scott sounds a lot more like Scooby than Neil did. And I don't know. I didn't love anything about Scooby in those live action. I didn't like the look of him, and it went far beyond just not liking that he was a CGI. I wish that they had actually made him like an animated dog, like look like a cartoon rather than a real dog. You know what I mean? I think that would have worked better. So I didn't like how he looked. I didn't like how he sounded. I can appreciate the voice work on it. I'm not saying that it was bad or anything. Like, I can appreciate it for sure, but it just, I didn't like it. It wasn't something that I enjoyed.
Cameron, what did you think of Neil Fanning doing Scooby?
I mean, I think he did an okay job. I mean, and people are going to say, "Oh, Cameron, you're really biased about this," but I think Scott would have done a 10 times better job. And we all know from when Scott came on one of our previous panels, he was supposed to be Scooby-Doo. And we all know that Hollywood likes to just go behind some people's backs and not tell them, and then switch roles, or, you know, pick somebody different. I don't think that's right. But I feel like if Scott would have done Scrappy and Scooby for the live actions, it would have been phenomenal. You know, Neil Fanning, did he do an okay job? Yeah. I will give it to them. I'm kind of go a little bit from what Wendy said, but I mean, forgiving its time period. I mean, we're talking 2002, 2004. CGI wasn't the best back then. You know, it was early development. And I feel like for the CGI, when they did the monsters for Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed and for Scooby-Doo, I think they did a pretty good job. You know, I'm not going to talk about the CGI ones for the Cartoon Network, but for the live actions, like the 2002, 2004, I mean, as far as like the animation style, like I agree with Wendy wholeheartedly. To actually see like a cartoon Scooby in those movies, that would have been really cool. Because, you know, like when you guys think about Looney Tunes back in action, it was like the actual people, and then the Looney Tunes were all animated. It worked. It worked so well. So they could have done that with Scooby-Doo. I think I would have been over the moon if they would have done that. But for being a cheer, I did think they did a good job.
I think Neil Fanning did okay. I mean, to me, I'm not a huge fan of live action Scooby-Doo. I think Scooby works better animated. So I'm probably picky about every little thing that they've done in the live action. I would definitely have gone with Scott over Neil Fanning. But I can understand that with Neil actually doing, like, being the body of Scooby-Doo, essentially, I can understand them wanting him to voice him because he's already there. So it makes sense why they used him. But yeah, I would definitely have gone with Scott instead of Neil. What do you think of Scooby speaking proper English? Cameron?
I don't like it. I don't, because when you very first started back in 1969 with Scooby-Doo, he had a little bit of a speech impediment, and everybody knows that. I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, when I bring up Scooby-Doo to somebody today, whether they're, you know, really into Scooby-Doo or not, they're going to go, "Ruh-roh," you know, or, you know, they're going to say Scooby-Doo's lines, but it's, I love how I just jump into the voices. But he always had that speech impediment, especially from the early on Scooby-Doo. You know, he would always roll, you know, or, you know, he would say something and they're like, "No, Scooby, cake." He's like, "Rake." And they're like, "No, cake." And so they would always correct Scooby. And I think that it's not making fun of Scooby, but it adds so much charm to him. It gives him, you know, it makes him really lovable. It's like, oh my gosh, I want to give him a big old hug. So when we've seen some things they've released, I think everybody knows what I'm talking about, but some things they've released recently of saying, oh, Scooby actually speaks proper English and not, no, that's not how Iwai Takamoto and everybody kind of designed him. Will Hanna, Joseph Barbera. That's not how everybody thought of him. They had thought of him to be this goofy, silly, fun dog that has a little bit of a speech impediment. So when people are saying, oh, he speaks good English, I don't buy into that. I don't like it.
Wendy, how about you?
Okay, I will admit that I interpreted this question very differently. And I was looking at the question from the standpoint of the fact that Scooby, like, he speaks in full sentences. Apart from like the sound of his voice, he is speaking proper English. And so looking at it from that perspective, I think that that was the only responsible choice that Hanna-Barbera could make, given that they were a studio that was known for not only trying to create shows that would be entertaining for children, but that could also teach them life lessons, give them something beyond the entertainment that they could internalize and that would benefit them in some way. And the one thing about kids is they like to mimic things. They absorb the information that you put in front of them. They're very, very susceptible to being influenced and stuff. So I feel like, thinking of it from Scooby speaking proper English just in what he's saying and how he's saying it, but not the sound of it, I think that that was a really great choice for them, because he does speak. If you, even in the original series, if you listen, he's speaking improper sentences. There's, like, yes, he's got those wonderful rolling R's, and I agree, like, that is part of Scooby's charm. He needs to have, like, a dog lisp is kind of what it is. He has a dog lisp. But he's intelligent, he's coherent. It's just the sound that's off. And I feel like that was probably a deliberate thing done by the studio, so that they were not creating a situation where all of the children, I mean, maybe they're running around going rut-row, but they're not speaking poor English though. They're still speaking properly. They're not using slang and lingo, and they don't sound like they just crawled out of a gutter somewhere, and that they haven't been educated. At least with Scooby, they definitely made sure, like, no, that's not the message that we want to send to kids. Like, don't mimic poor grammar, okay? And I would like to say that too, because I feel like, especially today, people don't give two craps about grammar. And I'm sorry, grammar matters. It's proper speaking matters, okay? Like, please, proper English. I don't even like short form in texting and stuff. I mean, I'm the person that will, like, write out all of the words, because that's I'm educated. I'm sorry. I don't know. It really bugs me. So I very much appreciate that, interpreting the question the way that I did. I appreciate that Scooby is not a moron, and he doesn't sound like a moron. He's got a cute little dog lisp, and that's awesome. But Scooby was still a very good influence for children, that even if you have a speech impediment, that is no excuse for using bad grammar and not speaking proper English.
If I look at it the way that you looked at it, Wendy, yes. I mean, like I said, a talking dog is just the most amazing thing. So, Scooby being able to talk, I think that's really what kind of made me really like him as much as, more so. Because how many cartoons have dogs in them? But Scooby's the one that I really liked. I think it was the way that he talks. I think it was his relationship with Shaggy, and there's the mystery. There's a lot going on, and yeah, I just think that really drew me to Scooby-Doo as a cartoon. Thinking about it as far as proper English, like Cameron was saying, yeah, I think that him saying the words with the R's is him. That's his character. That's how he was created. And taking that away kind of makes him, I don't want to say not as lovable, but it's definitely makes him different. You know, the way that Frank is doing the voice now is different. It's almost like Scooby became educated all of a sudden, you know, more so than what he was. So yeah, it's kind of odd. But do you think moms overreacted about Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island being too scary for their kids? I don't remember there being controversy over that, so yeah. So I don't remember. But Cameron, do you remember any controversy over Zombie Island?
I'm sorry. I'm just still laughing in my head about Wendy saying crawling out of the gutter. I just like, what? That's my new favorite. That's my new favorite set for 2022. Like, got that, Marine. Crawling out of the gutter. No, I'm sorry. To answer your question, you know, I think there was a point in time where there was a lot of parents worried about like Scooby-Doo going through a phase where monsters weren't, you know, was teaching kids that monsters were real and they weren't fake. And I think it kind of started after the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and it kind of started getting really worse into Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I think people overreact, to be honest with you. Some of these parents, I mean, it's kind of like on the panel we talked in the past, like parents were, you know, offended that, you know, Scooby and Shaggy were eating so much and it's going to make kids obese. Well, that's your problem, parent. Get your crap together and take care of your child. Like, don't blame a cartoon character for eating lots of food. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm sorry. Like, to me, that's very stupid. I mean, I love my mom to death, but I remember one time my mom walked by and I was watching Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. She was like, what are these monsters? And I would like, and you have to understand, like when I was growing up, she kept me in a very sheltered life. And I'm very blessed and thankful for that. Like, she kept all the bad, negative stuff. And I commend her to this day. I'm like, how did you do that? She goes, what you put in your mind, you can't take out. But I did tell her though, that yeah, you can look at Zombie Island as being bad, but yet they balance darkness and light in the movie. If you stop and think about it, yes, it may be dark and evil, and some parents may think, "Oh my God, that's awful for my kids." But in the end, good always prevails. Light wins, darkness doesn't. So, parents, if you're listening, start looking at these things as, "Hey, Scooby-Doo is a good resource for my child. He teaches me a lot of things." I mean, and I also encourage, I mean, I'm not a parent. Heck, I'm not a parent, but Nikki, I know you are, but I encourage parents, before you turn on something, make sure you watch it before your kid watches it, especially in this time era of day. Like, you don't know what's going to be thrown into a cartoon. And it scares me with some of these cartoons. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I have my nephew, and I like when he comes over, I watch everything. And then, like, I get so exhausted having to watch everything before he does. So I'm like, just turn on Scooby-Doo and I'll sit down there and watch it because I know it's going to be clean. I know there's nothing bad in there. So I feel like, to answer your question, I feel like parents overreact so much. Like, good God, like I'd be worried more about you and how you're parenting and then where they're watching Scooby-Doo. Sorry, not sorry. So,
Wendy, how about you?
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate just a little bit here. I do recall there being a little bit of scuttlebutt about it being a little bit too scary. And I will just start by saying that I really enjoyed it being a little more scary than traditional Scooby-Doo. Like, I definitely liked it. It's still one of my favorite movies. I actually kind of have an overwhelming urge to watch it tonight before I go to bed now. However, I will say that there is truth to the idea that everything starts somewhere. And once you open the door to allowing something, it's really hard to close it, and it's really hard to control how much of it there is. So we can look back in time to when parents started complaining about explicit content in music. You know, all my favorite Motley Crue CDs have that parental advisory sticker on them. And I remember Like this happened before my time, but I remember reading all about, you know, how those stickers came to be. My grandma would not let my dad and his sister watch The Twilight Zone when that was airing. And so it started in 59. My dad was not even 10 years old yet, but older than 5. And I would 100% show any episode of The Twilight Zone to a 5-year-old today. If I had a 5-year-old, I would be like, yes, we are watching this whole series because there's so much good in it to be learned. And yet my grandparents were like, that is evil. All this sci-fi stuff. No, you are not watching this. We do sometimes have to let these things happen because good things do come from them. Twilight Zone being a prime example. But there is truth to the idea that once you open the door, you can't close it again, like Pandora's box. So I kind of feel like with Zombie Island, it really was the gate. Unfortunately, it was the gateway to future people making Scooby darker and for a more mature audience. So I personally don't regret that they made it because I love that film. And it is more scary than traditional Scooby-Doo. I don't think it's too scary, but I do think that there was some merit to the parents saying this is too scary because look at where we are now with entertainment. You know what I mean? There was a time where if you were watching a network show, you did not have to worry about nudity. You did not have to worry about coarse language because it's a network. It's not allowed. Today, I mean, I feel bad for parents that have like younger children because I don't know what is actually safe to watch anymore. You know, if you're concerned about those things, because you can't trust that just because it's on a network that it's not going to have all of these other things that are for a more mature audience, because like our standards, they're getting lower and lower and lower. The more stuff, I mean, come on. 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, what happens? They open a chest and all the demons fly out. They're out. You know what I mean? And it's really, really hard to put them back in, especially when you don't have Scooby around to do it for you. So I think that they were not wrong to be concerned about it. However, I do really like the film and I don't regret that they made it. I think it is unfortunate that it ended up serving a purpose that is not so good, but it's not really the movie's fault. It's people. You know what I mean? It's people. We should learn that you can make boundaries and you can enforce them. You know what I mean? If you opened up the chest and only one demon flew out, fine, it's out. Close the damn chest and lock it again. You don't have to let all 13 of them out. You know what I mean? So I do feel like as a society and as sentient beings that are capable of thinking, cognitive thinking, and knowing what's right and what's not, and what's appropriate and what isn't, I do feel like regardless of what level of scary that movie was, it did not have to become the gateway to making a more mature Scooby-Doo in the future.
I think that parents need to stop being so concerned over stupid, petty things in cartoons. You know, as a parent, like I raised my kids, they watched cartoons, but they didn't sit in front of the TV. I was a stay-at-home mom. I did stuff with my kids. You know, we went places, we saw things. Like we were always taking our kids somewhere. Yeah, they watched TV, but they didn't just sit and watch TV by themselves. I knew what they were watching. You know, if it was a new show, I would screen it before I let them watch it. It's part of being a parent. Like your job is to make sure that your kids are not being subjected to things that are inappropriate. If you think Zombie Island is inappropriate for your 5-year-old, then don't let your 5-year-old watch it. It's that simple. You know, you don't have to start this whole like, oh, we're going to take Scooby-Doo down because, you know, it's not appropriate for my 5-year-old. Well, Zombie Island probably was not made for 5-year-olds. So it's okay to not let your 5-year-old watch it. It's okay to screen things so that you know what your kids are watching. You know, just like Cam said with the food, the kids aren't going to the store and buying food that has cartoon characters on it. So the only reason that that's being purchased is because the parents are buying it for their kids. So if your issue is that kids are obese because of cartoon characters on food, really the issue is you, and you're just trying to find somebody else to blame. I mean, it's that easy. Like, being a parent is making sure your kids are safe. And if you feel that something is inappropriate, then take it away from them. You are allowed to do that.
Nikki, I wanted to add something real quick. I think it got so bad with parents and Warner Brothers that Warner Brothers covered their tracks. And what I mean by that is think about 2 times that the monsters were really real in Scooby-Doo. And we both said it on here. I've heard both of y'all say it. The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. But the Curse of the 13th Ghost and Return to Zombie Island, those movies, and spoiler alert for anybody that's listening or watching, in those movies, they say that those monsters are fake. They said it was swamp gas that the gang breathed in on Return to Zombie Island, and they saw things that weren't real. And then the Curse of the 13th Ghost, I forget what they said, but I think they said like they bumped their head or something, and they imagined that the demons were real. That upset me a lot as a Scooby fan when I watched those. But I feel like parents absolutely. I mean, Nikki, Wendy, do y'all agree with me that I mean, I think it was just awful for them, going back and saying, "Oh, it was fake." But I feel like that was Warner Brothers kind of covering their tracks, because I felt like parents were saying those 2 movies. I mean, they're basically saying that there's demons coming out of a chest, and why demons? And oh, there's zombies, and there's these werecats, and yada yada yada. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking gibberish, but I think that that's where Warner Brothers started to really cover their tracks, because they're getting a lot of complaints. But I don't know. I mean, what do y'all think?
I think if they're getting that many complaints that they need to cover their tracks, that these parents need some better hobbies. Like, they need to find something else to do with their time than to complain to Warner Brothers about a cartoon.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But yeah, I can totally see Warner Brothers doing that. Just, the person that cries loudest always gets what they want.
That's right.
That's just how it works. So yeah, if enough people were complaining, I could see them doing that. I could see them doing the sequels just to appease the parents that were complaining.
Yeah, which is too bad, because Cam did make a really good point earlier, which is, yeah, maybe Zombie Island had a darker tone to it, but at the end of the day, number one, again, spoiler alert if you've never seen it, the zombies that we're so terrified of through the whole film turn out to be the good guys who are trying to help Scooby and the gang and warn them to get off the island before the werecats get them. And in the end, the werecats die. Good triumphing over evil. So even with a darker tone to the style, in the end, it was still classic Scooby-Doo and classic wholesome television, where it's good versus evil and good wins. And at the end of the day, that is what matters most, in my opinion, especially if you're even considering that children of any age are going to be watching your show. I think that is the thing that needs to remain constant, is that good triumphs over evil. And it is unfortunate that parents are too nearsighted to see something like that, because I think if they could be made to realize it, that maybe they would be less judgmental about the rest of it. And unfortunately, the thing is, like, sometimes when you complain about things that are not really things that you should be complaining about, the blowback from that is worse than the thing you were complaining about that you thought was happening. Because then you do get studios like Warner Brothers backtracking on it, and now they're looking to like essentially rewrite the entire canon. You know what I mean? Like they've even taken it beyond those two films where they've undone these things, and we're seeing evidence of them trying to tinker with other things, and that's never good. That's never good when you have a property like Scooby-Doo that's been around for so long, because it is still at its core what it started out as. And when you start trying to change that, I mean, you're essentially trying to change like the soul of your cartoon. Don't do that. Don't do that. The soul is what you need to keep intact to keep it what it is. And Scooby definitely needs to stay what it has always been. You can dress him up however you want, dark or comedic or whatever, but you need to keep that baseline of Scooby's good, the villains are bad, and the villains are going to lose.
I also think that when parents complain, they have a tendency to stop watching when they get to that point where they're not happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
So they never see that at the end, it all, works out. It all kind of ties in. It wraps itself up. It's, good triumphing over evil, like you said, Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't see that because they get to that point where it's like, oh, this is unacceptable. And that's where they stop.
Right.
And I feel like if you're going to complain about something, you need to watch the entire thing. Like in Frank and Creepy, when they complained about Daphne saying she was a size 8. They didn't watch the rest of it. They heard other people complaining about it. They watched that one clip and that was it.
Yeah.
But had they watched the rest of it, they would have seen that it was all part of the story. And, it was all explained and wrapped up at the end, and they missed that. So they make a big deal when they don't have to make a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Our next question is from Hanna-Barbera fan. And he says, what mystery and character would you like to be and why? Cameron, we'll start with you.
For sure. So I would have to go with Fred. And I know people would say, oh, no, Shaggy. But no, I would genuinely say Fred. Growing up in my life, I've always had to make decisions. I've always had to be a leader. And I've always been leaders in multiple organizations I've been a part of, just in life in general. And I've always just tried to help people as much as I can. I love helping people. And I feel like Fred really embodies that, and don't get me wrong, the rest of the gang do as well. Please don't get me wrong. But I love how Fred is just the leader, and he really takes initiative. Like, I mean, when someone's in trouble, he's like, come on, gang, we got to solve this mystery. We got to help these people. And I love that so much. And I truly believe that Fred doesn't get as much love as he should. I mean, I love Fred. I really do. So I would say Fred. And my God, he styles so well. I have been looking for a good ascot to start wearing part of my style, and I need to get one. But yeah, I don't know. Fred's always embodied that, and I embodied that leadership, that confidence, just I don't know, just everybody just likes Fred. You know what I mean? And like I said, I love Shaggy. I mean, I eat a lot, and I don't know. Sometimes I look like Shaggy when my hair grows out. But yeah, I don't know, something about Fred. I just feel like I can really capture with that same character. So.
Wendy, how about you?
I feel like people will expect me to say Daphne, but I'm going to have to agree with Cam. I would want to be Fred as well, because I definitely would, whether it's official or not, I would want to be like the leader of the group. I can't help it. I'm not great as like the subordinate. And I admire how Fred leads, because he's never come out and like made himself the leader. He's the unofficial leader. He didn't demand that everybody listen to him. He commands the room. He commands respect, but he does it in such like a kind and gentle manner. that you don't mind following him. You know, there's nothing worse than a dictatorial leader who is demanding that you do what they say and demanding that they be the leader and everything. And just their manner alone can make you say, well, absolutely not, like, up yours. I'm not going to follow you anywhere. And I feel like Fred is just, he's got such a great spirit to him. He doesn't have to do that. You know, he doesn't have to, because he's Freddy. He knows how to make the traps. He keeps a level head in all situations. He doesn't freak out. You know, you can always count on him. He's very reliable and dependable. I love the look of Daphne, but Freddy's my favorite character. And so, yeah, if I was going to be anybody, I would want to be Fred too. So we're going to have a 2 Fred gang, Cam.
There we go. I like it. Start our own hashtag.
So I can kind of relate to, even though I don't like being the center of attention, I do like being the leader, because I feel like when other people are left in charge, they don't typically do the things the way that I would want them to be done. So just like driving, like if someone else is in the car, I need to be the one driving, because I don't like the way other people drive. So I need to be the one that's in control of that. But I think that I would want to be Scooby. And I say that because one of the things that held me back from doing the panels is that I feel like anytime I talk, I don't have anything good to say. That people are just going to think that what I'm saying is stupid. And I know that that sounds odd, I guess, but that's always how I've felt. Like, I don't have anything good to say, so I'm the one observing, you know, I'm the one helping, but from a distance or not in the spotlight.
Right.
So I guess I kind of feel like if I'm Scooby, I'm not the one that has to be doing everything in the spotlight. You know, I can be in the background. I can be like, okay, I'm scared, but I'm still going to help you. I'm still going to do this for you. I'm still going to, you know, we're going to make all this work, but I don't have to be the one that's in control of it all, you know? So, yeah. Our next question is from Wacko Jacko 86. And he asks, if you could write a Scooby series, what character arcs would you give the gang and why? And which guests would be cool to feature in your dream show? And then Scooby-Doo of Roblox asked a similar question to this as well. Cameron, we'll start with you.
I feel like they have not done a Scooby-Doo Christmas Carol. You know what I mean? And I feel like that would be really cool. And I feel like the gang could be playing, you know, characters. And I'm not really familiar with like, I know like Scrooge and all that. I mean, there's like Tiny Tim and stuff, but you know, like, I think it would have been really cool for them to do like a Scooby-Doo Christmas Carol. Of course, I would love to see Reba McEntire in there, just because that's just me. But you know, another thing too is Reba is kind of connected to Scooby-Doo because Scott used to do a lot of stuff for her son when he was little. So she always went to all the Scooby-Doo stuff, which I think is really cool. If I could ever find a photo of that, oh, I'd be over the moon. But I feel like a Christmas Carol, add a little bit of a mystery to it. You know what I mean? And have like a ghost of Christmas past. Because I mean, we all love Christmas, you know, I mean, and I think it would be cool for them to kind of take on, you know, kind of like a Christmas Carol type thing. And we've seen cartoons kind of do that. We've seen the Muppets. We've seen, I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but you know, there's been like renditions, you know what I mean? So I think that could be kind of cool, kind of where they're kind of putting on a play. Like, I know there's been like episodes like the Nutcracker Scoob and stuff like that. Like those have been like different. But I'm talking like a full-on Christmas Carol one, but kind of going back and forth where the gang are like, they're playing these characters, but then they're like, we really got to solve this mystery. So I think that would be really cool to see and kind of like both of them balance out and kind of see how the mystery kind of takes on. So that's me. I would like to see something like that happen.
Wendy?
I mean, now I'm going to be obsessed with this idea that Cam had because that is like I am in love with that because yeah, they did a Flintstone Christmas Carol, and
They
it's like a
did.
full length movie, and it's pretty good. It's not like my favorite thing because it does involve conflict between Fred and Wilma, which I wasn't crazy about. I feel like you could still do the story without that angle. But yes, I'm 100% here for Scooby-Doo meets A Christmas Carol, and somebody needs to make that happen for sure. I don't have anything that creative to say because honestly, I'm just boring, and I don't really want to deviate from the original formula. I don't want to see like a personal story arc for the gang in my like ideal one. I just want those 4 kids who are super responsible and reliable doing their thing, and they come across a mystery and they take their dog in their van and they go help somebody. That to me is just, that's what I want. I want to focus on the mystery and the friendship that they have together, and I don't need any drama. You know, the drama can come from the bad guy. No drama within the gang. And I'll admit, I never was a huge fan of the new Scooby-Doo movies or even Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, because I don't know, I just feel like Scooby, even when he was back in the 70s, like to me, Scooby already is a celebrity. So I don't need some other celebrity to guest star with him because he's going to outshine anybody in my eyes. You know, I don't really like, they're just, to me, anyone else is just taking his spotlight away from him, and there is no celebrity that I'm more interested in than Scooby himself. So I would do the most boring thing imaginable and just, let's just make new mysteries for Where Are You? Or the Scooby-Doo show. We'll get some new villains, we'll have some new mysteries, but we'll keep it like pretty much exactly the same.
I would still, we talked about this in the last episode. I would really like them to do the Hex Girls on tour and have them,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like every episode could be a different city, and you know, they could meet up with different characters from the past. I think that would be awesome. I think that would be so cool. You know, it would be different because it would be the Hex Girls on tour, and it could focus on them. You know, the gang could even, they don't have to necessarily be the focus. There could be a mystery in each city that they're dealing with. You know, I think that would be so cool. And then you bring back the characters in each episode. They meet up with somebody from their past. I think that would be really cool.
It would be.
Agree.
Bradford Smith just recently put out his idea for a new series, and every episode is different. You know, one's claymation, one focuses on like one of the characters as opposed to all 5 of them. It's so awesome what he came up with. I don't know if you guys read it, but I would love to see them do that. I would love to see that happen. So if you haven't read his stuff, go to Hire Bradford on Instagram and check it out because it's really good. Really good.
Yeah, it is good.
Scooby-Doo of Roblox said, if you could meet any of the cast members or staff members of Scooby-Doo, past or present, who would it be? And then he said, excluding Scott, haha, just kidding. So Wendy, who would you meet if you could?
First and foremost, I would love to meet Iwa Takamoto. I mean, he is essentially Scooby-Doo's creator, and he's the one that did the design for them. And I just feel like that's like even beyond Joe and William at Hanna-Barbera. I feel like Iwa, if you're a Scooby fan, it's got to be on your list. You know, I think he did something really, really amazing, and I hope that he realized what a big deal it was. You know, I really hope that he did. After that, I would have loved to have met Heather North, who took over for Daphne in season 2, because even though I kind of prefer Stefaniana Christofferson in season 1, her voice, Heather just did it for longer. Heather did it through my favorite series, the Scooby-Doo show and with Scrappy. And I love how she made the Daphne character something really special in 13 Ghosts. I feel like that was just very masterful to be able to give Daphne that leadership role and the qualities of being a leader without making her what is today like a stereotypical, I mean, I'm sorry, you can bleep me, but I don't know how else to say it, but like a boss bitch. I feel like that's a very popular thing today, and I don't like it. Okay, that rubs me the wrong way, because I feel like part of the wonderful thing about being a woman is that you have this wonderful soft exterior that you can get your own way without being a bee. You should be able to. But I like that on the interior, you can step up and fill a leadership role, but you can do it by earning the respect of others rather than demanding it. And I feel like, unfortunately, today, the idea of women's liberation has gone so far down a road that I have no desire to even set foot on. And to me, how Heather North made Daphne, gave her that girl power that everybody's looking for, but still keeping her sweet and demure Daphne, to me, that's amazing. I think I wish that everybody that was going to push any kind of women's empowerment crap would pay attention to that and be like, okay, there's a way to go about doing things and a way not to. And if you have to demand respect, you're doing something wrong. You should not have to do that. You shouldn't. You should be able to earn people's respect. You can be a nice person. You can be a nice woman and still fill that role as the leader. You don't have to be nasty and masculine. You don't have to be. You can have the best of both worlds. Okay. And thirdly, I would love to meet John Stevenson, the voice actor, who was potentially in nearly every single episode of Scooby-Doo, voicing a villain or something. He did Elias Kingston. He's also Leon Vanoff, Gramps the Vamp, the 10,000 Watt Ghost. He did so many amazing voices, and like I say, his credits are insane. I kind of feel like somebody needs to go through and like, can we name the 3 episodes that he wasn't in? Because I'm not sure that there's even 3 of them at this point. And I cannot even imagine how amazing that would be to talk to someone that was so fully immersed in it, potentially more than anyone else other than the voice actors of the actual gang. Because you figure through all the different series, you didn't always have just like 2 or 3 artists painting backgrounds or painting animation cells. There were probably dozens, hundreds of artists that worked on Scooby-Doo as a whole, rather than like one core group of people. So like, I mean, he kind of is like the unofficial 6th member of the gang, you know, him as a person, I feel like, anyway. So I think that would be really neat to talk to him and just be like, how did you come up with so many different voices? And the thing is, like, when you're watching the episodes, if you stop and you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, this voice sounds like that voice, sounds like that voice. And yet, if you're not consciously thinking about that, they all sound different. They all sound completely different. I never ever feel like, oh, it's Stevenson again and he's doing his voice. I never feel that way. It's always like its own thing. And it's only when I'm consciously thinking about it that my brain can pick up the sounds that are the same and be like, wait a minute, that's the guy that voiced this over here. It doesn't sound the same, but I know it's the same. So I think that, and to be honest, like he might even top Heather North on my list. She might be my number 3 and he might be my number 2.
Cameron, how about you? Who would you want to meet?
I would love to meet Casey Kasem. You know, I just felt like he brought so much magic to Shaggy. I felt like he brought so much magic to just the Scooby-Doo franchise. And you know, Don Messick as well. You know, I'm a person that I love like the voice cast now. I really do, and I love the people that you know are got their hands still dipped in Scooby-Doo, because some of the originals are still there, like you know, like Frank Welker and some of the people that you know, artists. I mean, I can name them off right now, but I would love to meet Casey Kasem, and I would love to meet William Hanna and Joe Barbera. I mean, just to sit down and to pick their brain. I mean, when Scott Ennis was telling us the story about how he actually met both of them and actually got to sit down and talk to them, or even, you know, our friend Gerald, you know, Hanna-Barbera fan, you know, he's told us some stories too, you know, how he's got to meet him. I mean, without those two guys, and don't be wrong, Iwai Takamoto, I want to meet him as well so bad. I mean, these people that actually had their hands dipped in Scooby-Doo, I want to just meet them. But y'all think about it, without Will Hanna and Joe Barbera, Scooby-Doo, nothing would exist. Because they together started Hanna-Barbera Studios. They hired on Iwai Takamoto. They hired on these people. So the two guys that like started it all, I want to pick their brains, you know, and there's other people in you know, in there as well. I would love to meet, you know, it's, I don't know, you know, I just, you know, it's Fred Silverman, you know what I mean? For him getting Scooby-Doo on the air, you know what I mean? That's incredible. You know what I mean? I would love to pick his brain too. So I mean, these people that really poured their heart and soul at Hanna-Barbera Studios, if I can get them in one room, you know, and it's so cool when we hear those stories about how they did those round tables. I mean, just stop for a second as a Scooby-Doo fan, whether you're watching or listening, and think about all those original people that had their, I mean, Iwai Takamoto, Will Hanna, Joseph Barbera, Casey Kasem, all of them sitting around just a big, gigantic table going over the Scooby-Doo episode. I know the three of us, we would kill somebody just to be there at that table because we're Scooby-Doo fans. And that's where it all started. So for me, I feel like those are the people that I would love to just sit down, pick their brain, you know. Something about Hanna-Barbera Studios was very special to me. So
yeah, I have to agree. Hanna-Barbera, Iwai Takamoto, Frank Welker, Casey Kasem, pretty much anybody that was around for the original series. I would love to just sit down and talk to all of them at the same time. You know, give me 10 minutes. That's all I ask. 10 minutes and we'll just have a conversation, and yeah, that would be awesome to really get to know what they were thinking when they created Scooby-Doo. You know, I want to know how it all came to be. Like, where were they when they thought, oh, let's create this talking dog and his 4 friends, you know? That would be cool. The next question is, if you were to be in your own mystery, what would it be called and what would it be about? Cameron?
I don't know. Let me think about this. If I had to have my own mystery, I would do something with agriculture. So I would have it. One episode. I mean, it's not one of my favorites, but I mean, it is one of my favorites. But I don't really talk about it much. But it's Jeepers. It's a Creeper. I love how they're like are the Fricket Fracas. You know, like one of those. You know, those episodes where they're like at the farm. I mean, I can relate to those so much, y'all, because I live on a farm. I live on a ranch. I mean, I got cattle and chickens, you name it. We got it out here. And I love that. And so I feel like if I was going to have my own mystery, I would be like out in the country. I don't know what I would call it. I don't know. Cam's mystery of agriculture. I don't know. Or Cam's country mystery. That's a good one. I'll think about it. So,
Wendy, what about you?
Well, can I just answer for Cam? Because I feel like I could write Cam's mystery.
Oh, please do. Please. I feel like you two could write it for me.
Cam's mystery is about a mysterious cornfield. A cornfield that is infested with armadillos.
All right, I'm logging out. I'll talk to y'all later.
And Scooby and the gang, Scooby and the gang have to rescue Cam because while he was out farming and feeding his cattle, this damn gang of armor-plated armadillos toting guns kidnap Cam and they drag him into the cornfield.
Oh, I'm
But
starting
the
to cry.
cornfield is a giant corn maze. So he's lost. He's lost in the corn maze. And Scooby and the gang have to go through the corn maze to try and find Cam before the armadillos burn him at the stake. Okay, so there's Cam's story. Now that we've got that ironed out.
Round of applause for Wendy.
Oh my God.
I think you nailed it. You nailed it. I couldn't have said anything better. There you go.
I mean, you want scary real monster Scooby-Doo. That is it right there, because those armadillos, I'm telling you,
They're dangerous.
nasty buggers.
Ugh.
So I actually didn't have a lot of trouble answering this question because I have definitely thought of this before. So I'm actually going to read what I wrote for this because I put way too much time into this, way too much time and thought. So I apologize. Anyone who takes this idea, when you make your $1 million, I mean, can you at least like hat tip me, please? Because I mean, I know it's a bestseller, right? So I would title it Alizarin Crimson Dawn. And the story is this. A solitary artist becomes more and more reclusive, and finally, she simply disappears. The story is that one night, she's inspired to paint a portrait of a man. And into this portrait, she pours her heart and soul and every detail she can dream of to make him perfect. Upon the painting's completion, the artist becomes completely obsessed with it. And soon, the girl's love of the portrait brings it to life. And she falls in love with the man that she painted. But the man can't exist unless he stays within a certain proximity to the canvas. At the end of the story, the artist and the man disappear into the painting where they can be together forever. When her absence is finally noticed by others, they come to her cabin to check on her. But what they find is one painting on her easel of a girl being embraced by a man who is obviously her lover, but the girl in the painting is the artist. I'll applaud myself.
That's a good one.
I like it. Yeah, that's good.
That's really good.
Stay tuned for the motion picture on Hallmark someday.
Oh my gosh, please do. Can me and Nikki be cameos in the back?
Absolutely.
I feel like Nikki be putting up Christmas lights and I'd be like selling like hot chocolate. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
So I haven't really thought about this so much, mainly because I'm not super creative in that way. But one of the things that I did think about would be for the gang to figure out mysteries about why people act the way they do. And we would title it WTF People. And I just think it would be funny. I just think it would be funny, you know, like more of a comedic kind of thing. And, you know, my role in it would basically just to be, okay, guys, this is your mystery for this week. You know, this is what's going on. This is, you know, people, they can't drive, like everyone's crazy. So let's figure out why this is happening, you know, or whatever the case may be. Like, let's, and it'll just be basically analyzing people, but, you know, it's funny. It would just be funny. Yeah. I don't know.
It would be. Yeah. I like
Again, not creative in this way, so I can't draw and I can't write. What can I do? I'm not sure, but definitely not those things.
Oh.
Our next question is, if you had the chance to get to see or have anything out of the Scooby-Doo archives, what would you have?
Oh, that's a good
Wendy.
one.
I would love to have an original animation cell that was used in that original promo with like the sepia filter on it. Maybe like especially where the Vasquez ghost runs by, like it's just magic. I would love that. Or an original background painting from either To Switch a Witch, which is my favorite, or one that shows the mansion from What the Hex is Going On, because that mansion is a dead ringer for Collinwood in Dark Shadows, which I also really, really love. And the third thing, which might trump the other two if I really was thinking about it, but the original presentation board that Iwa Takamoto drew that essentially sold the series to CBS. It's got like the black around it, and then it's the gang, and Scooby's kind of like turned, and it's just like that. That's a piece of history right there, more so to me than anything else. I think that might be on the top of my list.
Cameron, what about you?
Well, kind of like Wendy, I would love an animation cell, and are some of the original sheets that they used for What a Night for a Night, the very first Scooby-Doo episode. While it's not my like favorite episode in the world, that's the very first Scooby-Doo episode, and we've got some great visuals in there. So I would love something from there. I've heard, I don't know, I can't confirm because I just heard rumors, but I've heard that a lot of things when they came in and took everything out of the Hanna-Barbera studios, like the big studios, a lot of it's kept at the Warner Brothers archives. And I would love something that from the Hanna-Barbera studios, whether it be, the original, desk drawings, where they would make all their drawings that Will Hanna and Joe Barbera kind of worked on. I would love something like that. Some of the sketches they made for the villains, just some of the sketches. I have some of the animation cells here at my house. I have some of the animation cells that were used for a pup named Scooby-Doo, but I just would love to get my hands on some Where Are You ones, or the Scooby-Doo show ones, because those are where it all started. You know what I mean? So to me, that would be really cool. And just the three of us talking, can you imagine stepping into the archives and seeing everything I would be in heaven. I don't care if I would get 5 minutes in there. I would be in heaven just to see some of the things that went on behind the scenes. And there's some videos out there and there's some stuff like that, but I don't know. I just think it'd be so cool.
Yeah, I would love to have some of the concept drawings from Iwo Takamoto of the original, like Scooby-Doo, to see how they progressed with him, and that would be really cool. Yeah, and a cell from What a Night for a Night would be amazing. I love that episode, and yeah, it's what started it all. So that would be really cool. Wendy, I like your idea of the background art. That would be cool. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's just a lot that we would want. And, maybe someday Warner Brothers will do something with it. Like Cam, you had mentioned them actually making a Hanna-Barbera museum. Maybe someday they'll do that.
I'm not gonna lie, like if I was in the archive, I'd probably steal so much stuff. They probably have to call the cops on me. Like, Nikki, Wendy, run. But you think about it though, and I'm serious. Some of these people that have worked on Scooby-Doo originally, like I've heard stories where when they pass on, their family doesn't know what to do with that original stuff, and they sell it in garage sales.
Yeah.
And you guys, that makes me so sick. I mean, Nikki, I know it makes you sick because you're like me. We would love to go get it. And Wendy, you're an artist. I mean, some of these art that's just put out there, it makes me wonder if it was thrown in the trash or just gone to the garage sale. But whatever they were able to save, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what's in the archives, but I hope they were able to save the stuff that was like what made Scooby-Doo. And you're right, Nikki. I hope they make a museum one day. I mean, I don't care where it is. Whenever they open, I will be there because I would love to see everything that was, used to make the cartoon dog that we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Our next question is, if you had the chance to live with any member of the mystery gang, who would you live with and why? And this question was from Scooby-Doo of Roblox. He said his answer would be Scooby and Shaggy. So Cam, who would you live with out of the gang and why?
I like that Scooby-Doo episode, Scooby-Doo Valentine from the What's New Scooby-Doo. And I love how Velma and Daphne have their own house. And I love how Scooby, Fred, and Shaggy have their own house. So I would probably live with Scooby, Fred, and Shaggy. I feel like it would just be so much fun. Like all the trouble, like all the fun stuff they would do in the house. Like, I just think it'd be so cool.
Wendy, how about you?
Oh, 100% Daphne, so we could share clothes. And by share clothes, I mean so that I could take her clothes.
I would have to say Scooby and Shaggy because I just feel like seeing their bond and their friendship every day would be just really motivating, and it would just make it very happy. I'd be happy to live with them. Them eating everything, that's another story, but we'd have to figure that out somehow. Matthew Leotard asked, he said, greetings from the Caribbean. And he said, why do you think we never got a physical disc release of the Scooby-Doo show season 2 in its entirety? And I'm not sure why. Do you guys have any idea why that would not have been released other than?
I know that, everybody's like, oh, it's Where Are You season 3, or, and it's a Scooby. I mean, it's always gone back and forth throughout time. I mean, there's been different names for it. I remember a while back there was like it was a purple copy DVD, and it was like the season 3, and it had all the Scooby-Doo show episodes on there. So I mean, there's that. You know what I mean? But it's called Where Are You? It's not physically called the Scooby-Doo show on the outside. But as far as it goes, I mean, guys, you'll have to think about it. I mean, they're still releasing episodes that we haven't seen in a while. I mean, the new Scooby-Doo movies, they literally released a DVD out like last year or the year before with like never been seen episodes, or never, or episodes we've seen before, but like haven't been out like since the 70s. And now we're just now getting them. So I feel like there's still, and I wonder if there's even episodes that we as Scooby fans have never seen that's still in the archives that were created and never put out. So, I mean, to answer that question, I don't know why, but I still feel like they're bringing more and more stuff out. But I don't know. I feel like they still have yet to release like a Scooby-Doo show. You know what I mean? Like to release DVDs for the official, but I don't know why. So,
Wendy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's just speculation, but I just think that corporations and companies are grossly they're underestimating the demand and the desire to have a physical copy of the shows that we really like. I think that they are to the point where they don't think that DVDs and Blu-rays are really profitable when it comes to like an old series like that, which is really unfortunate because I feel like they're wrong. I think there are a lot of Scooby fans that would love to be able to complete like their DVD collection and stuff like that. And I feel like I can probably speak for all of us when I say that even if we already have all the other DVDs, we're not above spending money to get another collection that literally has only 1 or 2 more episodes on it than we already have. I mean, both Cam and I tonight realized that we're both guilty of spending a lot of money on that Blu-ray set, and neither of us has a Blu-ray player. So I think that they just are not they're missing out on that part of the market. I think that they've already decided that that is obsolete. So we're just not going to bother with it. And that's really unfortunate because we know the episodes exist. You can get them through Amazon and stuff. I mean, not in Canada, of course, but in the States, like you can buy the seasons, you can buy the episodes and stuff. So we know that they're there. They have access to them. They're not lost. I think they just don't realize how much of a market still exists for physical media.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And wouldn't it be cool if they released an entire collection? I mean, it'd be super expensive, like $1,000, but it would still be really cool. I would buy it. I would figure out a way to buy it.
Sell our kidneys.
The complete collection of Scooby-Doo in a mystery machine box or something. I mean, that would be awesome.
It'd be beautiful. You know, it kind of makes me wonder though, y'all. It's kind of like the Disney vault. Like you think about, like, you know how Disney has that vault and they'll lock things away. They're like, hey, you better get it soon or it's going to go back in the vault and it's not coming back out. I wonder if that's how Warner Brothers is kind of with Hanna-Barbera stuff. Like we know we have all the stuff in the vault where we'll release some things here and there, but we're not going to release everything because we want you to have on streaming service. Kind of like you said, Wendy. I mean, I know that for a fact because, I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever heard this show, and it's kind of like Scooby-Doo, but it's called The Incredible New Shmoo. And it was kind of like an old Hanna-Barbera show. If y'all go have a chance, look it up. It's called The Incredible New Shmoo, and it was kind of like these three teenagers and this little white.
I thought he was like a seal or something. That's what he reminded me of. Was a seal.
Yeah, and I can't. There's no DVD for The Incredible New Shmoo, but I mean, not saying I pirated, but I mean, I remember someone sending me these episodes and I watched every single one of them and they are incredible. But that is early Hanna-Barbera. Like I'm talking like that is so, and it never gets mentioned. It got cut off for some reason. They don't ever want to talk about it. And so I know it's in the Hanna-Barbera archives, but they never release it. So it's weird. I don't know why. I feel like it's like Wendy said, it's some kind of money gig, but I know they have all of it. I know they have everything. So we'll never know.
Yeah. Our next question is from Tom and Tina Gay, and they said, will we get another season of Scooby-Doo and guess who? So I'm going to assume probably not. And I say that because although the one with the voice actors wasn't the last episode in this season, I thought it should have been. And I feel like because they did that in season 2, we probably won't get a season 3. I don't know. Do you guys think that we would get any more, Wendy?
I honestly, I can't really speculate one way or another because I really haven't watched that series. So I don't really even have a sense of like how well they've been doing with them. Or I feel like it wasn't a very good sign the way that they delayed releasing like a massive amount of episodes in certain areas. Like it's a very inconsistent rollout, which is typically not a good sign for television shows. When they start messing around with that, it usually does signal that they're done. But I mean, hey, I feel like they've kept worse shows going for years and years and years. So like anything is possible.
Yeah. Cam?
To keep it short and sweet, no, I think this is the final season. And the reason I say that is because we've seen like HBO Max and other people, and even just other people that have had their hands dipped in Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, and they said like these are the final episodes and they're being released. So we know that they're done. You know, I think they're at the point right now where they're kind of at a crossroads. I can't speak. They're kind of at a crossroads. Where do we go next with Scooby? I mean, there hasn't been a new Scooby-Doo movie, announced, and we don't know any new series. But as far as Guess Who, I think they're done. And Nikki, I agree with you. I think that the voice artist one was my favorite episode. I think it was a good final ribbon put on it, and I don't know why they didn't put that as the very last one to wrap the series up. So.
Jordan Love Art 452 asked, what is it like having so many guest stars in this amazing franchise? Cameron?
I think it's incredible. I think it makes Scooby-Doo really stand out. You think about 52 years and you think about everybody he's really teamed up with. You know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about Guess Who and the new Scooby-Doo mysteries. I'm just talking about like going throughout Scooby-Doo history, like people that have actually come in to do voice acting for some of the characters. You know what I mean? You start and look at some of the celebrities that come in. I mean, they may not be big names, but they've played on television shows. They've been in movies and stuff like that. Now they're coming to do a voice acting, position. I mean, look at a lot of the What's New Scooby-Doo. I mean, there was a lot of people coming in to do a lot of, whether it was Aloha Scooby-Doo or Scooby-Doo and the Goblin King, there was always some famous person coming in. I mean, look at the movie Scoob. I mean, it's Simon Cowell, and his son, they were voicing it, Ken John. I mean, so I feel like there's tons of people out there that want to be in the Scooby-Doo franchise, because think about another cartoon that has really, teamed up with a lot of celebrities or had a lot of celebrities come in and really, try to work on it. I really can't think of another cartoon. So I think it's some pretty incredible 52 years. And, I think Scooby-Doo's kind of met and, seen everything, done everything. So.
Wendy, what do you think of the guest stars?
Yeah, I agree with Cam. It's very much a testament to the franchise itself, to Scooby, that so many people wanted to be involved, were able to be involved over so many years. There really is nothing else like that. And for Scooby to be at the center of it, where it's not him guest starring on a bunch of things. It's like, no, they're coming to him, which to me is a bigger deal. It means that at the end of the day, in my opinion, Scooby is the true celebrity out of all of them, because he is where the other celebrities come. And I mean, can I say this? I don't mean this, I hope it won't sound rude, because it's not meant to be, but I feel like in a way, Scooby is making some of these celebrities relevant. There are certain celebrities that I'm not saying that they've ever necessarily been irrelevant. For some reason, the one that is coming to mind, because she was also a guest star early on, but like Cher has never been irrelevant. She hasn't been. But like any celebrity, I feel like she has had like highs and lows in her popularity. Do a lot of 15 to 20-year-olds today, are they really that familiar with Cher as a personality? Probably not. I'm going to say no. And so she was recently in Scooby-Doo and Guess Who. I'm not saying that they did it for this reason. I'm just saying this can be a byproduct of it, but they could very well make her relevant to a whole new generation of people that otherwise would not even care who she was, would not seek her out, you know what I mean, to find out more about her. And Scooby could very well make her relevant again to more people. And that's kind of incredible that was happening in the 70s. It's happening now. All of these different celebrities that even like my favorite episode of the new Scooby-Doo movies is Wednesday's Missing. Unfortunately, the one episode that John Astin won't sign off on so that we can get it on DVD, but John Astin was Gomez in the 60s series. The Scooby-Doo show, it was after that. He was already becoming irrelevant. When the monster craze of the 1960s died out, well, I don't think that all that many new people were like, hey, there's this really cool show called The Addams Family. Let's watch it. It had its time, and then unfortunately, other things took its place in popularity. Did having those actors and actresses that were in the original series 5 to 10 years later on Scooby-Doo, did that give them a boost at that time? Maybe. I mean, I would have to imagine that it did in some way, shape, or form. Why would they do it otherwise? You need a job. This can potentially bring us back into the spotlight. I mean, I feel like today it's easier to get a reaction because we have like streaming services. You're not relying on like reruns and syndication and stuff. But to think that like at the end of the day, Scooby is the celebrity. People are coming to him and he is making them relevant again, in my opinion. So I think that's a pretty nifty feat. I don't know that Joe and William necessarily realized that Scooby would become something like that. Scooby is a powerhouse, more so than any other cartoon. I still say that Scooby, if he hasn't already, he will surpass Disney and Mickey Mouse, because Mickey Mouse and Disney cannot even boast the things that Scooby-Doo has done in 52 years.
Yeah, I think that I like the guest stars, but at the same time, some of the guest stars that they chose for Guess Who were a little weird, and I didn't understand why they chose those people. I mean, maybe it's just because I don't know who they are and I don't really know their relevance, but I just thought that they chose some odd people to have on, and especially that basketball player for the first episode. I thought for the first episode, they should have gone with somebody that was in the new Scooby movies, like Cher. But I mean, I think it's cool that they have the guest stars. I would like to see them maybe not necessarily do another series with guest stars, because I think they've kind of overplayed that a bit. But bringing them into movies or even into the episodes, I think is pretty cool. And yeah, I think Scooby, like you guys said, Scooby does kind of make these people relevant again. So yeah, I think it's cool. I don't want them to keep just doing crossover movies though. That's something that I'm kind of worried about, that, now they've done Courage, they talked about doing Crypto, and I'm hoping that that isn't going to be, they're just going to do crossover movies from now on.
Yeah.
So we have two final questions from Carson Maitland Smith. His first question is, does Daphne deserve her own workout series? I would say that it could be interesting to have somebody dressed as Daphne doing TikTok videos like that.
That would be fun.
Like that would be kind of funny, but I'm not sure about like Daphne as a cartoon doing a workout series. That would be kind of odd. I don't know that has it ever been done before? A cartoon character doing a workout series?
I don't know.
Not that I know of. They could do like those little shorts in between, have Scooby marathons and do little shorts.
That would be fun.
And the last question is, can the Wiggles join the panel? Carson, if you can get the Wiggles and Scooby-Doo to do a crossover, then we will gladly have the Wiggles come on the panel. But until then, we cannot talk to the Wiggles because this is a Scooby-Doo panel, and that would be weird. Cameron?
I'm sorry. I was just asking, who are the Wiggles? I'm sorry.
So I know who the Wiggles are because my son used to love them. I actually took him to see them live. And they are, I don't think they're for guys anymore. I think there's a girl now. But they're 4 guys. They wear a different color shirt. So one wears a blue shirt, one purple, one red, and one yellow. And they're a band. And they sing and they do like these little skits and they have a show. They're entertaining and they're fun, but they're for little kids. Like, obviously, my 19-year-old doesn't like the Wiggles anymore. but yeah. But he did like the Wiggles, and like I said, they were really good. They're from Australia too, so If you want to hear people talking with an Australian accent, watch a Wiggles YouTube video. They're all from Australia.
How you just threw that in there.
Well, I'm glad Nikki did, because I was going to say, oh, Cam, there's your gateway to watching them, because we know how much you love an Australian accent.
Oh my God. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Nikki. I've never heard of the Wiggles before. I was like, I thought it was, I don't know what I thought it was. I was like, okay.
The songs that they sing are like really weird. Like there's one, I think it's called Cold Spaghetti. I mean, they're obviously geared towards little kids,
Right.
you know? So,
Right.
so we're not going to be sitting around watching the Wiggles. But I mean, certainly, like if they ever did a crossover with Scooby-Doo, then they can come on and talk about Scooby-Doo with us. That would be great. They have Australian accents. They'd be perfect.
Exactly. Maybe we could get them, maybe we could get them to do their own version of a pup named Scooby-Doo gospel singing.
Wendy, you know
We
what?
gotta get you on board.
Update on that. I'm still tracking down those women. So if anybody listening and has any inquiries about where to find those women who sing a pup named Scooby-Doo, please send me a DM, please.
All right, and that is all the questions that we have. So thank you guys so much for sending in your questions, and we had a good time answering them.
Yes.
So we're going to wrap up this episode. And before we do, I would like everybody to tell everyone where you can be found on social media. So Wendy, we'll start with you.
Come say hi to me on Instagram. I'm at Wendy BRYDGE. On Twitter, I'm at Wendy Loves Jesus. And my blog is wendylovesjesus.wordpress.com.
Cameron?
Guys, you can find me at Scooby and Cam on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm always posting new Scooby-Doo stuff, whether it be my collection or just anything about Scooby-Doo. So stop over. Love to say hi, talk Scooby-Doo. I'm just, like I said, welcome to the Scooby community.
And you can find all of my links on ScoobyAddicts.com. So thank you for joining us for another Scooby panel, and have a happy and safe 2022. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
Hi, Happy New Year's.
Thank you for tuning in to another Scooby panel. I'm Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com. If you like these panels, please subscribe to my channel for more great discussions. Thank you to everyone that sent in questions for us to answer. And a very special thank you to artist, blogger, and Scooby collector Wendy BRYDGE, and Cameron Bates from Scooby-Doo and Cameron Too. Scooby and Shaggy were voiced by Scott Innes. Check out Scott's website, onescottshop.com. Scooby Panel is available in podcast form on most podcast platforms, or as a web series on YouTube. If you would like to support the Scooby Panel, please go to support.scoobiaddicts.com. Scooby Addicts art by Will Davenport, video editing by Nikki Blake, music composed and performed by Bovine Nightmares. Please join us next time for our discussion with animator Bob Nessler.